Bennett Davison here with a EuroHooplife podcast. I'm going to be talking about Galatasaray, Istanbul, Turkey. This is in 1999-2000, so it was a ways back, so it's not really significant about what their payment history. Even if you go back to the top three teams, you'll see that Galatasaray leads F.I.B.A worldwide in most of the arbitrations against it. And this kind of coincides with what and how I was treated along with the other two or three Americans that were on that Galatasaray team. I ended up getting there in mid-November. We stayed in Ataköy. Ataköy was a very kind of urban little area. We had a couple little shopping centers around there that we could go to. They had Pizza Hut, they had McDonald's, they had bowling alleys. They had we're right on the ocean. We had a nice marina. Stayed in a decent apartment. I think it was a 2-3 bedroom apartment. But it was on one of those ghetto, those very cylindrical kind of ghetto situations where you have 20 floors and they're all just vertical. Ended up getting there. Had two Americans, Patrick Durham, Richard Petrushka, and Tim Brough, who played for the Houston Rockets, ended up coming midway through the season. I was a rookie coming out of University of Arizona after our Pac-10 championship at Arizona. And so I get there, and we had a great setup for weight facilities over at the marina. They had some amazing food, great little setup. And our apartment would be, say, located here. We had the shopping center, and then the marina was just walking distance. So I'm just kind of here to share some stories about Galatasaray. There's two. One was about the Kurds were bombing shopping centers when we got there, and at the same time, females are kind of seen as objects. So first story is the ex-wife, girlfriend at the time, was walking through the shopping center from the marina from the workout. She would stop at the shopping center. And she comes home and tells me once I get home from practice, she's like, this guy comes up to me and says, Natasha. And Natasha is code word for Russian prostitute, because if you get on the freeways, there's always about 3 or 4 toothless or attractive prostitutes that would be sitting on the exit. So imagine getting on the freeway and there's prostitutes sitting right on the exit waiting to be picked up or propositioned, I guess. So this guy walks up to the ex-wife and says, Natasha, you want to go to the hotel room? She's like, what? Why are you talking to me like this? And she's like, prostitute. We go to the hotel? You a hotel? And she's like, no, you need to get away from me. And so she came to me and told me this, which I was I was dumbfounded and shocked that somebody would come up and assume that a single female walking around in a Muslim country is going to be considered a prostitute or a Natasha. So this happened she was there for about 3 to 4 months. That happened about 5 or 6 times of her walking around the shopping center alone without a man. So I ended up going to my team manager and asking her, hey, how do you say get the hell away from me? Siktir git. In Turkish is siktir git, get the hell away from me. To leave me alone. So there's a lesson number 1. Istanbul is the Turkish league. Galatasaray they had practice jerseys. We had to provide our own shoes. They gave you a car. Actually, we had a person that drove us around just because in Turkey you'll have 4 lanes of traffic, but you'll have 6 lanes of just cars. They'll drive on the median and they'll drive on the side, just go around, and there's traffic everywhere. Taxis are not that expensive. You could probably get a half an hour, 30-minute taxi ride for $20. So it's not that expensive back when I was there. There's obviously certain areas in Istanbul, Turkey, where you want to stay away from. Don't go out there unless you have a Turkish escort or somebody else. Once you get to the central portion of Istanbul, it's very beautiful. It's on the Marmara. You have the ancient cities of, obviously, you have the Asian side and you have the European side. We were actually positioned more on the European side. In the Turkish league, you have, let's say 15 teams in the Turkish league. I'd say 7 or 8 of them are actually located in Istanbul, Turkey. There's Darüşşafaka, Beşiktaş, Galatasaray, Efes Pilsen, Fenerbahçe, and a couple other teams that I just don't remember their names. And the other ones you can take a 3-4 hour bus trip, little ferry across the waters to get to the other portions of it, Bursa, Izmir, things like that. The second portion of this is on our last bit of our stay for that, and the season's coming to an end. The Kurds were wanting their own independence from Turkish rule, and obviously the Kurds are still now fighting their own war over there, but they had actually started parking cars in parking centers and detonating C4 explosives. So that last month, that last 3 weeks before we ended up having to finish up the season, you just kind of stayed away from shopping centers. So one night, me and my teammate Patrick Durham are sitting up in his 17th floor apartment, and the next thing you know, you hear this reverberation of just air, and all of a sudden you hear this boom, and the whole place just rattles. The glass almost breaks, and pretty much kitty corner from here to up here was like the apartment was here, the shopping center was just off the side of the basically the block, the city block, and his wife was getting her hair done. And in doing so, we ran down the steps, ran over to the shopping center, and there was about 8 to 10 pounds of C4 explosive that the Kurds had placed at individual shopping centers, and it exploded. This was a sign that we needed to really kind of watch what we were doing, but at the same time, hey, the season was over. Galatasaray hadn't paid us all of our money. I think they came to us at the marina and handed us stacks of $10,000 in hundreds and fifties and said, here's your payment. But you guys still owe me $60,000. You still owe Patrick, $70,000, $80,000. You still owe Tim probably $40,000 or $50,000. He's like, hey, believe me, Bubba, we will have this money for you. Don't worry, we will have it for you. And 20 years later, they still haven't paid any of their players. So in the 5 years that Galatasaray has, since 2015 till 2020, I think they have 57 arbitrations. You can add 3 or 4 more of those. Just imagine over 15 to 20 years of dealing with this team, how many arbitrations, probably in the low 100s, maybe 200 arbitrations against this team. So Galatasaray is a decent quality team. They take care of you, but go in there. If you sign, say, a $300,000 contract, expect not to get $100,000 of it. This is Bennett Davison with the EuroHooplife podcast on Galatasaray, Istanbul, Turkey.